Hey, howdy, hey, welcome back to All About That Disney Life. I am Danny B, the girl who's all about that Disney life. We now move on to Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas, which came out in 2004, so let's get to know this cast. Wayne Allwyn was Mickey Mouse, Tony Alzama was Donald Duck, Jeff Bennett was Donner, one of the elves, Janitor Elf, and Jailbreak Bob. Corey Burton was the radio host, Jim Cummings was Blitzen, Bill Farmer was Goofy and Pluto, Tress MacNeille was Daisy Duck and a female elf. Jason Marsden was Max Goof. Kelly Martin was Mona. Chuck McCann was Santa Claus. Edie McClurg was Santa's workshop announcer. Rob Paulson was one of the elves and also a crying elf. Clive Revell was the narrator. Fred Stoller was the security guard. Russi Taylor was Minnie Mouse, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. April Winchell was the spectacular announcer, and Alan Young was Scrooge McDuck. Now we move on to the facts all about Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas. Number 1, the backstory. This is an American animated Christmas anthology movie produced by DisneyToon Studios and directed by Matthew O'Callaghan. It is the computer animated sequel to Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. This movie has 5 different segments rather than the 3 segments that we had in the first one. Number 2, the segments. Like I mentioned, there are 5 segments. They are Bells on Ice, Christmas Impossible, Christmas Maximus, Donald's Gift, and Mickey's Doggone Christmas. So let's give a background story or plot line to each of the 5 segments. So the first one, Bells on Ice. The narrator said it all started on the first segment when Minnie Mouse and Daisy Duck were competing in an ice skating competition. The girls each are joined by their respective boyfriends, Mickey and Donald, as they prepare to take the ice. Daisy becomes envious of the crowd's reaction to Minnie and attempts to steal the spotlight for herself. Minnie performs several daredevil stunts to regain the spotlight, while Daisy summons the Fantasia Hippos, who become her backup skaters, while her counterpart summons the alligators from the Fantasia movie. Fed up, Daisy and Minnie argue and shove each other around, putting each other at risk, and then try pulling dramatic stunts to draw the attention of the crowds as Mickey and Donald watch with worry. When Minnie accidentally slips on a fallen handbell while landing from a stunt blindfolded, Daisy helps Minnie up while feeling sorry for her selfish actions. Minnie feels the same way, and they perform a grand finale, this time working together as a team. The next segment is called Christmas Impossible. The second segment tells the story of Huey, Dewey, and Louie celebrating Christmas Eve with Donald and Daisy Duck at Uncle Scrooge's mansion in Duckburg. After causing trouble at dinner time, Scrooge warns them not to make the same mistakes he made when he was young. The boys know that they are on the naughty list for sure, so they travel to the North Pole to write their names on Santa's good list. At Santa's workshop, the trio cause more trouble by making a mess while trying to find the key to the room containing Santa's good list. But they and the elves help clean up to save Christmas. Before they leave, they luck into an opportunity to add their names to the good list. However, they add Scrooge's name instead, mindful of the fact that he was never written onto the list either. With their mission accomplished, they head home. On Christmas Day, they find a single gift for Scrooge, but Santa also leaves them a note and explains that their actions have caused them to also be put on the good list, and there are more presents behind the tree. The next segment is Christmas Maximus. The third segment's focus is about Max Goof and his father Goofy celebrating the holidays. A young adult Max brings home his girlfriend Mona to meet his father, Goofy. However, Max is unsure whether or not he wants Mona to meet his dad. Max at first is embarrassed by his dad, who labels his car as a limo, decorates the house with many Christmas lights, shows baby pictures to Mona, and wipes cocoa off Max's face. While wandering outside, he notices that his scarf is made by Goofy and realizes that Goofy is always, well, Goofy, and that he loves him. Max then forgets about being embarrassed and decides to join in the fun when the popcorn making machine goes haywire. Max tries to stop the machine but has popcorn filling his clothes until he lets go. He becomes embarrassed after having his clothes inflate in front of Mona and flies across the room, but nevertheless enjoys it. Goofy tries to stop it next, but he is swung around in the air by the machine. Max, Goofy, and Mona are all pushed up by the popcorn through the chimney and onto the roof. Following this, Mona then reveals to have the same kind of teeth like Goofy and Max. They all laugh and make snow angels on the roof out of popcorn. The next segment is Donald's Gift. The fourth segment focuses on Donald Duck and his Christmas wish of peace and quiet. Daisy Duck and Huey, Dewey, and Louie also appear. As Donald returns home from grocery shopping, he daydreams and misses his bus. He runs to catch after it, but he is slowed down by the series of well-wishers that begin to sing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." Donald becomes increasingly annoyed by the joyous people and at home. He is annoyed to hear the same Christmas carols on his radio. When Daisy and his nephews arrive, Donald becomes annoyed that they want to go out so soon after he returned home and doesn't want to come, but Daisy drags him out anyway. At the mall, Donald grabs a cup of hot chocolate and discovers various objects seeming to play the same Christmas carol, causing him to be annoyed even more. Donald thinks he is in complete peace inside a secret room where he finds animatronics singing. Donald immediately wrecks them until he notices he is destroying the show at Mousie's that Daisy, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and also the crowd were trying to see. Dewey tricks Donald into being heartbroken by saying Donald is not their uncle anymore to avoid getting in trouble with the public. Daisy agrees to this and leaves with the boys. After he is thrown out of the mall by the mall guard for his lack of Christmas spirit and the destruction of the Mousie's show, Donald walks home alone while feeling guilty for his lack of Christmas spirit. He finds Christmas carolers having trouble with singing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," to which he urges to mentor the performers in singing. When Daisy, Huey, Dewey, and Louie arrive, Donald apologizes to everyone for his selfishness and then joins the townspeople convened around a Christmas tree, happily singing the song. The last segment is called Mickey's Doggone Christmas. The fifth and final segment stars Mickey as he makes decorations for the Christmas party, which his dog, Pluto, keeps interrupting. When Pluto attempts to help by putting the star on the tree, he inadvertently destroys all the decorations, especially knocking down the Christmas tree. Then a frustrated Mickey yells at Pluto and sends him to his doghouse as his punishment. Feeling like he is rejected by his owner, Pluto decides to run away from home and then finds himself shipped on a train to the North Pole, where Santa's reindeer adopt him and rename him Murray. You know, like Murray Christmas? It's a joke in the movie, if you know what I mean. Back at home, Mickey redecorates the house and, feeling ashamed of how he lost his temper at Pluto, attempts to reconcile with him, only to find him missing with his collar laying on the floor of his doghouse. Mickey posts several lost dog posters and eventually turns to a department store Santa, who turns out to be the real one. Meanwhile, Pluto becomes homesick and begins to miss being with his owner, to which Santa and the reindeer help Pluto return home. As Mickey's friends arrive on a snowplow, which they use to help find Pluto, he completes the Christmas tree decorations and everyone celebrates Pluto's return. Even Donald and Daisy Duck, who had just shown up with Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Uncle Scrooge, Max, Goofy, and Minnie Mouse, who is also entranced by the decorations. The movie concludes with a melody of various Christmas carols featuring the main characters from the 5 segments as the book closes. Number 3, the release. The movie was first released on DVD and VHS on November 9th, 2004. Number 4, the broadcast. This movie aired in the United States on ABC Family in December of 2013 and in December of 2015. This movie also aired on Freeform in December of 2022. Number 5, awards and nominations. At the DVD exclusive awards, Russi Taylor was nominated for Best Animated Character Performance, but she lost to Nathan Lane for The Lion King 1.5. This movie was also nominated for Best Screenplay for a DVD premiere movie, but it lost to The Lion King 1.5. This movie did, however, win for Best Original Score for a DVD premiere movie. Number 6, other segments. There were a number of segments conceived during the movie's production that did not make the final cut. They are as follows. There was one called the Christmas Cookie Caper. It was about Mickey tries to find out who stole Minnie's Christmas cookies in a private eye-style mystery. There was also a Fantasia-esque segment in which Donald leads various Disney characters in a grand musical review of the 12 Days of Christmas, with Goofy acting as one of the audience members. Prior to being cast as the backup skaters in Bells on Ice, the hippos and alligators were to have appeared in this segment as the 9 Ladies Dancing and 10 Lords a Leapin'. Other Disney characters that would have been featured included Clarabelle Cow, Ichabod Crane, and the Mad Hatter in their respective roles of the 8 Maids a Milking, 12 Drummers Drumming, and 11 Pipers Piping. Another segment was called Christmas Wrapping. It is about the origin story of how we see Minnie and Mickey meet each other for the first time on Christmas, when both thought that they would spend the holidays by themselves. Can we just have that as a movie? Can we please just have an origin movie about how Mickey met Minnie? Because since 1928, they've just been together. Where's the backstory about how they met each other? That's a movie that I want to see. How did Mickey meet Minnie? Can we start a petition or something? Come on. There was also an untitled short about Goofy and Pete competing in some sort of winter-themed friendship contest. The initial idea for the Mickey and Pluto segment involved Mickey sending Pluto off to the North Pole to compete in the reindeer games to win some dog treats. However, the animators decided that they wanted the segment to feature Mickey more. Before it was decided that Minnie and Daisy would compete in a skating competition, a number of other ideas for what the event would be were tossed around before that. These included a parade float contest, a store window display competition, and a cooking show bake-off. Originally, Huey, Dewey, and Louie had to retrieve the key to the naughty and nice list from a pedestal on a block of ice with a polar bear swing around it. This setup got scrapped as it was eventually deemed too bizarre, more like Indiana Jones. The animators came up with several different toys for the scene in which Huey, Dewey, and Louie lose the key, including Key to My Heart Katie, Go-Go Ginny, Deputy Duck, and the dog Pound Pals. In the end, Jailbreak Bob won. The framing device initially featured Mickey decorating for the holidays, which would have led to him uncovering a memento that reminded him of each story. A book was eventually chosen as it would evoke classic Disney film openings. And Mousy's Department Store is a spoof of the real-world department store chain Macy's. Number 7, continuity errors. This movie is quite difficult to place within the greater continuity of all of the previous appearances of Max, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. So let me explain. In the previous special, Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, the 4 of them, so Max, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, they were all children, with Max presented as being even younger than his appearance in Goof Troop, and Donald's nephews presented as still living with them. This indicates that Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas took place at some point prior to the events of both DuckTales and Goof Troop. By the time of a Goofy Movie and Quack Pack, Max, Huey, Dewey, and Louie have all grown into high school-age teenagers, with an extremely Goofy Movie having Max grown further into a college-age teenager. In the House of Mouse TV series, Max is still a teenager, but old enough to be employed as a parking valet, while Huey, Dewey, and Louie are on the cusp of young adulthood. Because of this Christmas special presenting Donald's nephews as children at the same time that Max is a young adult, Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas is virtually irreconcilable with the larger continuity of all of the aforementioned TV shows, movies, and even its own predecessor, Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, and therefore also results to a massive plot hole on Huey, Dewey, and Louie not aging up till young adulthood since the events of previous special, as well further adding to this film's inconsistencies with all that came before it. Additionally, Goofy's house appears to have a larger front yard that extends off to the side where Pete's house stood in both Goof Troop and Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, meaning that Pete's house is missing from where it ought to be in this special, although Pete himself doesn't appear in this movie. And while the house's exterior does bear a decent resemblance to that of the Goof house seen in Goof Troop, its interior more closely resembles that of the very different looking Goof house seen in Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, which itself had a completely different interior room layout from the house seen in Goof Troop. Since Goofy and Max only first moved into their Goof Troop house in the series' first episode, the house they lived in Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas has to have been a different house that they lived in prior to their first moving to Spoonerville. So if Goofy in this special is supposed to still be living in the same house he's lived in since Goof Troop, the inside of the house really shouldn't resemble the very different house from the first movie. Yet it does, further adding to the film's inconsistencies with all that came before it. Also, both the interior and exterior of McDuck Manor, as seen in this movie, bear very little resemblance to their appearance in DuckTales. Scrooge's mention of that not receiving a set of bagpipes because he wasn't on the nice list contradicts to the DuckTales episode Once Upon a Dime, where he was shown to have a set of bagpipes while he was still with his parents in Scotland and later when he immigrated to America. This was Max Goof's last appearance in any official Disney animation until his photo cameos in the DuckTales reboot episode Quack Pack 16 years later. And this is the oldest aged appearance of Max Goof after an extremely Goofy movie. Number 8, bonus facts. This is DisneyToon's very first computer animated movie. It should be noted that Kelly Martin, who played Roxanne, Max's first love interest in a Goofy movie, plays Mona, Max's second love interest. Roxanne was actually supposed to be in this movie in person, but she got scrapped due to the animators not having the budget to animate her wavy long hair, leading to fans to wondering, why didn't they just give her a haircut? It could have been solved. Put Roxanne, just give her a different hairdo. Duh. Pete, Clarabelle Cow, Chippendale, Aunt Gertie, Horace Horsecollar, and Figaro didn't make any appearances in this movie like they did in the first one. And despite their appearances on the cover, Goofy and Daisy didn't wear their original outfits in this movie, but Donald and Minnie do. Number 9, the good points and the bad points. Once again, this is based off of the internet's perspective of whether this was a good sequel or a bad sequel. So for the good points, fans are saying that the animation is amazing. It tells what Christmas is about in each of the segments. Fans are saying that it was funny and touching. The backgrounds were excellent, and this is a great Christmas movie for kids. Now, for the bad points, fans are saying that they didn't like Mickey acting so unlikable the way that he was treating Pluto in his segment. Fans also didn't like that this movie did not live up to the first movie. Fans are also saying that this movie was boring and uneventful. And a lot of the comments that I found out while looking for good points and bad points for this movie, a lot of fans did not like the CGI version of this movie. Come to think of it, you gotta think that this is the first time you've seen Mickey and the gang in a CGI computer animated form, because on the cover of the movie, they look like they're in their 2D animation, but then when the movie starts and you see, oh my gosh, it's a different animation. They look weird. They look different. I was a little kid when this movie came out, and I was like, why do they look like that? And that's when, because Pixar was known for the computer animation, and now here's Disney Animation taking a chance on computer animated movies. I think this is what threw fans off a little bit, because they're just used to Pixar doing the computer animation. Now here's Disney Animation doing the exact same thing. I think it was just a weird concept because it was the early 2000s, because many years later, that's what Disney Animation is doing. They're doing computer animated movies nowadays. So, and finally, fans didn't like that this was diseducative for younger audiences. And there you have it, all the facts to Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas. If you like this video, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. And I hope you have a zippity-doo-dah day. Goodbye.